Reporter Robert in Shoreditch. I came here today to join a street art and graffiti tour. We wandered through the streets of Shoreditch, seeing firsthand the wonderful artwork that Shoreditch has to offer and learning the stories behind iconic masterpieces. The engaging tour guide allowed me to take videos throughout for your viewing pleasure and allowed me to interview him at the end of the tour. A word of warning, graffiti is illegal unless you have permission from the owner of the building. Behind me is Boris Johnson graffiti, where he is portrayed as a clown.
Clown of the country, Mr. Boris Johnson.
Thank you.
Go viral for that. Right, we're going to keep moving down, guys. We're going to head this way. And I believe it means to scratch, right? Did I get that right? And that sounds, I believe that has a religious term, religious connotation. Pilgrimages. People trying to get to places like Rome and Jerusalem, they would scratch walls to guide the way. It's instinctive as well. If you take a child and give them like a crayon and a colouring book and leave them in a room, before they've been conditioned by society, I expect when you come back the book will be empty and then just around it all over the walls like this. But this stuff that we're going to look at today kind of began about 40, 50 years ago, not in London, in New York City, and mainly in the kind of the southern area of New York City, down in Brooklyn, with gangs in impoverished areas. New York, like any city, had nice places and poor areas. Gangs would do this. Gangs would use street art, not as an idea of art, but as a way of marking territory, a phrase called tagging. I'm sure you've probably heard of this before. So if you're in a gang, let's say we're in a gang, Jonny's tour gang, we would get an old car spray paint, spray the name of the gang on the wall, and it's about territory, it's about announcing to the area that this is ours. Don't mess with it, this is our territory. This is in the 80s in New York, and then inevitably another gang would come along and say, you know, this is your area, this is our area, and they would tag over the top of it. Turf wars, they're still going today. Banksy was involved in a turf war that went on for years and years. We'll talk about this a little bit later. So this grew throughout the 80s and 90s, and it slowly started to become recognised as something that was not ruining a property, but was actually making it a little bit more interesting. People would stop and look. It also became a bit of a media sensation in the newspapers, the news programmes, the television, when it became a political voice. You're going to see a lot of political street art today. The good thing about street art is that you'll notice that no real names are associated. They're all anonymous street art. The beauty about this stuff is you can do it in the middle of the night with a hood, spray, disappear. So you can write very controversial things, bold statements, and nobody needs to know it was actually you that did it. This is Jo. This is his kid. She ran it in her 30s, so this picture was taken a long time ago. Jo's Kids Cafe. You'll notice that if you see real people in the world of street art, usually they're being mocked, you know, politicians and things like this, but often, if you don't know who they are, they can be these unsung heroes of the community. People used to absolutely love this shop, and it was taken over by Fauvelage Vietnamese street. And this was a picture that was inside on the wall to keep the spirit of Jo's Kids Cafe. Notice there's a halo around them as well, almost like they're some sort of biblical things. Everybody loved them so much around here. We're going to keep moving down this way, guys. Rowe was born in Belgium. He's got work all around the world now, very, very famous. And it's always this kind of black and white, sketchy style. He'll start with a white base, and then the brush stroke over the top. What else to see? Loads of things. Guys, we're going to head down this way, and we're going to take the right one. You'll notice as well that not all artists tag their work. Some artists proudly tag their work, some just remain anonymous. Some are like, it's not about me, it's about the art. It's been vandalised slightly, but there's a lovely piece down here, Make the World Greta Again. A little nod to Greta Thunberg, and obviously a comment to the MAGA slogan of Donald Trump. I, as a professional tour guide, try not to get too opinionated, because I don't want to get slammed on TripAdvisor. So I'll leave it to you to see what Shoreditch thinks of politicians. It's quite self-explanatory. If you are interested into the topical, political piece of street art, you're going to start to see Mr. Trump and the likes of those involved. The poster there on the right-hand side. We're going to keep moving that over. So, by the way, am I talking too fast? No. All good? All good? Excellent. This is all connectivity matters. A bit on the start on the far right. Excuse me. See all the lines interweaving, the multicoloured lines? That's by an artist called Autone, A-U-T-O-N-E. That would have been stencil works. It's funny when you see these artists that they literally are like up a ladder. It's like there's no health and safety or anything, but they're just up the ladder painting like this. Autone, if you want to follow him on Instagram, this represents the gay pride. Frequently, different parts of it are changing. So if you want to go on Instagram, type in hashtag connectivity matters, and you'll see how it's changing all the time. Various artists, I think there's about 10 that have collaborated. It goes all the way around, and all of their art is interweaving with each other. And it very obviously, very understandably represents multicultural London. 9 million people live in London, 200 languages are spoken in London. But probably the hub of immigration historically is Shoreditch, around here. You know, going back about 200 years, 300 years, you had the Londoners, the Irish, Eastern European Jewish community, French Huguenots were here. Today, you've got Banglatown in short. We're going to go to, you've been to Leicester Square, there's Chinatown, right? Is it really Chinatown? There's like an Irish pub there, there's Pizza Express.